Hi, and welcome back. Sorry for kind of the awkward angle here, but I really don't have anywhere else to film right now. This is on the book of Ruth, which you probably know by the title. I don't know. I hadn't really thought of the title yet. But this has been a hard one for me. Just to come up with content and something to talk about. But of course, first of all, this book is a major book about commitment because I really didn't know what the book was about when I started. I was completely wrong, but Ruth Ruth was a Moab. I'm not even gonna try to remember all of the group names or whatever. I'm just gonna tell the story. She got married. There was a famine. The whole family, mother and father-in-law, the sons and two daughter-in-laws, moved away. The father-in-law and the two sons died. The famine was over, so the mother is like, "Y'all go back home, and I'm going back to my homeland." One of them went back to the homeland, but Ruth stayed committed and stayed with her mother-in-law. And then didn't meet, but then went to glean in a man's field. And I had to look up the word glean, and y'all are probably wondering the same thing. What is that? Well, gleaning is just going after the farm hands and picking up the leftovers. So she was picking up all the leftovers and come back and had gleaned quite a bit. Well, then Boaz started asking about her and found out who she was. Found out that, hey, she's a widow of I think we're of this woman's son and everything. And then she just kept, he approached her and told her, don't glean in anyone else's field. So she just stayed committed to him and gleaned in his field. And she kind of got a fancy for him, and her mother-in-law told her how to approach him and everything, which sometimes getting into these old traditions, it just really is like confusing. But this is a book, it's not a long book, so when it comes to some of the details like that, I read the book. Read it. But, and like I said, I've read through this 5 times and just struggled with what to talk about. I know this is part of the genealogy of Jesus and everything. Well, and I was listening. I actually did not make it to the service, but I was listening to a past sermon. And then I think it played a video. I hate to say it, but I tuned out for a second, and then we're in the middle of this other guy talking. Because I was at work listening to this, so I got into my work for a second. But he was talking about, how tiny we are compared to God's creation, the entirety of the universe. It's like, okay, we're in our solar system is in the Milky Way galaxy, which is part of the universe. Shows the Milky Way, shows the whole galaxy. And okay, our solar system's over here in this area. And it's like, can you even it's like, it's so tiny you can't even put a dot to represent where we are. And as I'm listening to this, I'm thinking about, because I'd listened for the 5th time just a couple of days ago on the book of Ruth, and I'm like, the genealogy in Matthew, I'm like, this is more about, and that's what this was. He, Boaz married Ruth and allowed Ruth to have children that her land could be passed on to, that her husband's property. And with that was also, what they counted as the genealogy back then, which would have just been the property, to where Jesus, when he come down here and was born to a virgin that was married to a property owner, he was connected to this tiny, tiny little dot in God's creation, to where he could save the people on this tiny little dot. But he had to belong to this tiny little dot. You know, the Bible, you know, it just speaks of heaven as heaven and earth, but there's a lot more creation. And I'm of course, I'm no theologian. I'm just a regular Joe reading through my Bible and living life. And just the watching of us and our wanting to explore space and what's out there and all that. It's like, well, you know, whether there's any intelligent life anywhere else, there's a humongous creation out there, and Jesus is connected to this little tiny dot to save us. And like I said, the book of Ruth is a major thing about commitment, but there's everything, and I've just, as I read through, there's always hidden things. And for the future of the church and the infinity of God, you know, throw this little hidden gem in there to remind us that, hey, Jesus is connected here. Not the sun, not, you know, this tiny little dot. He saved your insignificant self on this tiny little dot over here. And it was as much his home as it is my home. You know, our true home is heaven, but we have a earthly home, and Jesus shared it with us. And that's how he used his temporary home to save us and bring us to our real home. And that, like I said, that's me on my little dot, on the dot of the planet Earth, that, you know, that I read, and other things come to me as I read, and that's what I got from my however long it's been since I uploaded the last video, long study, to finally get to enough content to where I feel like I've actually got a video. And I think it's time for me to step out of the Old Testament and start trying some New Testament. And I'm going to attempt to commit to, until I finish the study and the book, and this may be, I may upload a 2-minute video, 3-minute video, but I'm going to commit to every Tuesday I will upload a video on the book of Acts until we finish the book of Acts. Like I said, I may be uploading a 1-minute, 2-minute video, but that's where I think I'm going to go next. And I'm not going to even attempt to do like this and do a single video on anything New Testament. And like, hey, we may start on this, and I may flip the script and say this is something that I jumped into that I shouldn't have. But I will have a video next week on Tuesday, and hopefully it is on the book. It is on the beginnings of the book of Acts. And this is all I've got on the book of Ruth. I will see y'all next week with something on the book of Acts.